Hello and welcome to Dad Got This, where we answer the tough questions like, how do you make smoked beef tallow in your Ninja Woodfire? And what do you call a cow in an earthquake? That second one's easy. Milkshake. Today we are going to answer a question that I get from a lot of people. What the heck is this tallow thing you keep talking about? I use it to sear steaks, I use it when I make briskets, I use it all the time. But what is it? It is basically a fancy name for rendered beef fat. You're basically making an oil, a Crisco, and a lubricant out of scraps, out of beef fat. So if you ever get a brisket and you trim off all that fat, what do you do with it? You save it. And if you get enough of it, you can make tallow. And I'm gonna show you how to do it in your Ninja Woodfire. And we're gonna add a little bit of smoke to our tallow. It is probably one of the easiest things you will ever do in your Woodfire, but it is really, really handy stuff to have around. I find it easiest to use one of these half sheet pans, but you can use any pan you want that's gonna fit in your Ninja. This is just easier because it's gonna get pretty messed up and I don't feel like cleaning. You're gonna need a really sharp knife and some beef fat. These are trimmings from my last couple briskets. Now this one I haven't really cleaned. This one I really cleaned well. It is just fat. So we'll start off with this one. We are just going to cut it into smallish pieces. We're doing this just because it's going to help it render down faster if it's in smaller pieces. Now, if you don't cook briskets and you don't end up with a lot of beef trimmings, I've heard that Sam's Club and Costco will actually sell you beef fat at a pretty cheap price, and then you can just make your own. Or check with your butcher. Nothing crazy, just a rough chop into the pan. Like I said, now this stuff has, some of it has meat in it. And if I can get meat off it, I'm gonna take the meat out because I would rather use that for something else. You could use it as like a little stir fry. Now that one is not worth it. It's just kind of shredding with it. And this is kind of not the greatest. This is some silver skin and whatnot. So guess what? Man, I have a sharp knife and it doesn't even want to go through this stuff. So that's just going to go in. There's nothing worth keeping there. One tiny little strip of actual meat. Since there really is not enough meat to keep, I'm just going to put the meat in there. It'll flavor the tallow, and I might be able to pick out some little chunky snacks as it cooks. And that's it. Chunk it up, put it in the pan.
The next step, we just got to set up the smoker. Grab your pellet hopper, and I'm going to use some smoking pecan shell pellets. These seem to last the longest out of all the pellets I've tried, so that's what I'm going to use, so I don't have to refill it that often. Fill your hopper all the way to the top. I say that because in the old models, the igniter's up here. On the new ones, apparently, it's on the side, but it's just a good idea to fill it to the top. Now take it and do the dad shake. The dad shake either compresses the pellets and makes them burn better, separates the pellets and gives it lots of air and makes them burn better, or it does absolutely nothing and makes me feel like it burns better. I still do it every time. We're gonna set it to 225 Fahrenheit and let it go for about 6 hours. Anywhere from 4 to 6 hours, you're just gonna kind of watch it, watch for it to render, and then you're gonna know it's done. I'll show you what it looks like so you know. Now all we need to do is wait for this to go through the ignition cycle and be ready, and then we will stick our tallow in there, or our beef, which will then transform into tallow, a la Optimus Prime. The Ninja's ready. Now we just stick this in there. We'll check on this about every hour to check the pellets and maybe just kind of give it a stir. I think it's been about 2 hours and 15 minutes or so. Let's see how it looks. Ooh, looking good. Let's give it a stir. We're about halfway on those pellets, so let's go ahead and refill it. And that is why I'm using the smoking pecan pellets. 2 hours and 15 minutes, and they still had half a hopper. They just burn longer. All I did was stick some fresh pellets on top. The ones underneath there will ignite them. We should be fine. Been like another hour or so. See how it looks. Yep, that looks about done. The next part is to just strain it off. Use a fine mesh strainer. You can go through paper towels. You can go through cheesecloth. You just got to get all the bits out. You just want nice, clean, rendered fat. I don't know why, but somehow I had put my camera into slow motion. So you guys get to watch me slow motion drain beef fat. My strainer wasn't fine enough. I've got a bunch of junk at the bottom. Let's run it through some cheesecloth and see if it makes it any better. Even more slow motion draining of beef fat. And don't put a second layer of cheesecloth underneath the one you're doing because it's just going to soak it up and make a giant mess. And there you have liquid gold. Next up, I'm just pouring some water in here. We're going to cap it off and stick it in the fridge. A couple hours should let it solidify, and it's supposed to do some sort of magic after it does this. I've never done this one before. Let's see. And there you go. After a couple hours in the fridge, all of the fat is here. The water with any impurities is down here. It's actually pretty pure, not much in there. I should have done this in a container that would be a little bit easier to get to, but I can now just pop this fat off, store it in a separate container. It is good for up to a year, just stored in an airtight container in a cool, dry place. Longer in the refrigerator, and indefinitely if you put it in the freezer. This stuff just is great. Awesome shelf life. Great for searing steaks. Anywhere you would use butter or oil, you can use this, and it's really, really good. I hope that answered the question of how to make beef tallow in your Ninja Woodfire with a little added smoke. If you're enjoying this content, please do the likey, subscribe stuff. YouTube loves it when you leave a like. I love it when you leave a comment. I answer just about every comment in my comment section. If you really want to support the channel, consider becoming a member. You get 24-hour early access to videos, you get behind the scenes updates, you get shout outs, producer credits, all kinds of fun stuff. But if you can't do any of that, please just subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And with that, that only leaves us one question. What do you call an emo cow? Moody. Yeah, pretty bad. Dad may tell horrible dad jokes, show you how to make beef tallow, but one thing Dad will never do is an outro. So that's it. Bye. This is the part where I thank all of my members. You guys are the absolute best. Thank you so much for your support, and rock on. I don't know why I said rock on, but rock on.